Welcome back to Come Back to Nature. My name is Gareth Blakesley, and today we're going to be talking about how to make a fire. Now there's lots of different ways you can do that, but I found there's a couple of things that can really help you do that. Why do we want to make a fire? Well, it's really useful for a number of different things. When you're kind of like out in the woods, it can help you with heat. It can help you with boiling water. It can also make you feel a little bit better. And today's a little bit of a kind of a dark day today, so it's actually a perfect day to start a fire. But there's a couple of things I try to do to kind of go ahead to kind of make my life a little bit easier, and I go through a certain procedure of how I do that. I'll be talking a little bit how to do that, but I also talk a little about the different tinder types that I like to bring with when we kind of go for that. So starting off, got a fire pit right here, so I'm going to go down, and I like to prepare my fire pit in a way by brushing all the debris away. What I'm looking for is bare soil. And so basically I've got down to bare soil right there, which is perfect. The next thing I like to do is I like to take some material and I actually start to make a little bit of a base along it. And the reason why I do this is it helps insulate the fire from the ground. As it starts to get a little bit colder, you need that kind of little bit of insulation, so you're basically not having that cold earth coming up and possibly cooling the fire down. So it also allows a little airflow, and also if the ground is damp for whatever reason, it also helps kind of with that preparation as well, so that it doesn't have that water coming seeping up or cold seeping up into the flame, because the fire needs warmth and it needs oxygen and it needs all these other kind of things. So then I kind of start to play with the different materials that I want to start off with. I have a variety of different grasses right here, which is really useful. This is actually going to be kind of like my little tinder bundle. You can do a variety of different tinders that you want, and I'm going to demonstrate a few of them here. I also have this fluffy stuff. Could be any fluffy stuff. This is actually milkweed right now, and I actually, rather than just having it diffuse, I actually kind of crumple it up together, because what happens when you try to light it, it tends to just kind of fizzle, and you want it to kind of like ignite the next bit. So I have a little bit of that ready to go, which is really useful. And then I have my favorite material, which is birch bark. The nice thing about birch bark is it has resin in it, and that resin will actually help resonate. No, the resin helps actually kind of burn in the cold, burns in damp. It's really useful from that kind of standpoint, and it burns a long time, which is very useful as well. So if you've got a combination of these materials, each one of these materials may ignite by itself, which would be really useful, but I tend to use a selection of this stuff. The other thing I do, when I go backpacking, I take more than one kind of a fuel ignition thing with me. I always take matches, because they're useful. I don't normally take a lighter, but it's useful to have a lighter as well. And then I always take a spark stick, igniter, whatever you want to call it, which is really useful from that respect. So I use this because this can get wet, and it can actually be a secondary source. So if my matches are wet, if this is wet, this will still ignite. These won't necessarily. So I start preparing my stuff together. With my grass, I make sure there is absolutely no green in there whatsoever, because if there's any green, that's moisture, and we don't want that. So I kind of look around and I pick things out that may be a little bit wet and take them away. So hopefully what I'm gonna do is kind of crunch it up a little bit, stick it down, put my little bit of fluff in there as well. And then I also will have strips of this with me. Kind of flick it around a little bit. This also, you can use cattail fluff as well. That's a really useful thing as well. So anything that's going to be a kind of a useful. I also sometimes like to take with me camping as a little bit of a cheat. This is cotton ball. And cotton balls are great because you can just have a few of them. I'll just show this as an example. Hopefully it will take. I'll just show what will happen. And that's already on fire. And that's amazing to take with you. So if you take that with you, it's long burning, it's one spark, it's already going, didn't use any matches, it's great. So I could actually have started with that. But what I'm hoping to try and do is use the natural material to get this going if I can. So I'm just going to move this to one side. Well, they might start everything up as we go. Oh, I should say, before I get going, I make sure I have my wood ready to go. I have different thicknesses of different kind of twigs here, and I try to make sure I use, this is actually down spruce, which is nice. It snaps It's nice and brittle. That's really, really useful. I like that because that's going to help take the fires. I start off with pencil thickness kind of pieces first because that's going to be really useful for it. But I have it ready to go because one of the reasons why fires tend to go out is people have to go and get firewood to kind of get it going. When if they have it all ready to go, it's a little bit easier in that respect. So I'm going to take some of this stuff off, break it up a little bit. And that's a little bit thicker, so I'll put it on this side. And then I have my bigger pieces over here as well. People may ask me, which ones do I like to use? Well, I do tend to use some leaves sometimes. Oak leaves are great, they burn very well. Cottonwood leaves, absolutely terrible, because a bit of moisture, they soak it in. These can be a little bit damp and still can burn. I also don't like to use cottonwood sticks as well, because they tend to have a lot of moisture in them and they don't tend to take very, very well. Even the spruce, I had to be a little bit careful, because even though some of it's down, what happens is in the bark, if it gets wet, it can get underneath the bark, and then it's another thing that you have to kind of burn through and steam it off as you go. Anyway, so we're getting close to being ready to go. Put that down there. Hopefully this will, I'm going to fluff this a little bit. All right, let's see if this will work. I do like it when it starts with one spark. And the rule of thumb is once the flames have burned through a little bit, you can start adding a little bit more material. I might have laid it a little bit on too thick too soon, but we'll see. You can actually feel the moisture today a little bit. And even if it's not that, it's not raining, sometimes the things can start to absorb the moisture in the air, and that can slow you down a little bit sometimes. So now it's getting going a little bit better now. I actually probably put the sticks on a little bit too quickly and smothered it a little bit. And smothering basically means you're taking the oxygen out of it. And so that's why I had to go down and blow on it a little bit to kind of get that fuel going underneath. Right. So one of the things I did, I made a little bit of a mistake because I smothered it too quickly with the sticks. I should have kind of let it kind of burn a little bit longer. I got a little bit of oxygen kind of go into it, so it actually started to burn up again. I then added if I had to go away and get any twigs or anything like that, it probably would have gone out, which is why you always have your material ready to go. I then have actually split wood kind of next to me. One of the reasons why split wood is better is you kind of take the bark off, which means it helps dry it out a little bit as well. You also want to be able to kind of build up nice and slowly as well. So as you saw, this is a one spark fire that kind of got going quite nicely, but I almost ruined it. But we kind of retrieved it, got it kind of back together. And so this is how you make a fire on Come Back to Nature. See you next time.